Welcome back, friends of the sun, for reading Plato, the Republic, and for seeking a path out of the cave, as he suggests, turning our bodies and our eyes towards the sun. And how do we do that? Well, we need a good sort of education. Sciences, he suggested, were, of course, music and gymnastics, although that is not yet enough. The science of the one, of the thing that is, not that only becomes and therefore changes, is mathematics. Mathematics has the power to draw the soul not only from sight, where everything is immediately seen, but towards the distinguishing capabilities of the intellect. And then, of course, geometry also teaches not just random rules that change, but it studies what is one. So this is where we are, and now we come to the next subject that he suggests people should study, and it is astronomy. So let's look into the text immediately. And what about this? Shall we set astronomy down as a third? Let me just mark this here. Or does it seem to be the thing? It does, at least to me, he said. A better awareness of seasons, months, and years is suitable not only for farming and navigation, but no less for generalship. Generalship, that's an interesting word. And yeah, he suggests here again the practical value, but that is certainly not what Socrates has in mind, right? You're amusing, I said. You're like a man who's afraid of the many in your not wanting to seem to command useless studies. It's scarcely an ordinary thing, rather it's hard to trust that in these studies a certain instrument of everyone's soul, one that is destroyed and blinded by other practices, is purified and rekindled, an instrument more important to save than 10,000 eyes. So I find interesting that the instrument can be destroyed, because he says, okay, we don't want to put knowledge into you. The knowledge is already there. We just have to turn your soul into the right direction, right? That's very interesting. So anyway, I think he's amused here because Glaucon is afraid that it wouldn't be useful, and he just wants to study useful stuff, right? For with it alone is truth seen. So, okay, it's related to the truth again. To those who share your opinion about this, what you say will seem indescribably good, while all those who have had no awareness at all of it can be expected to believe you're talking nonsense. So why do they see nonsense, these wise people, and not the ones who agree with him? They see no other benefit from these studies worth mentioning. So the only benefit is to know the truth, I guess. Consider right here with which of these two kinds of men you are discussing. Or are you making the arguments for neither, but chiefly for your own sake, without, however, grudging anyone else who might be able to get some profit from them? So this sounds like a trick, right? He says, okay, there are two men, or are you just doing that for yourself and not for anyone else? I don't understand the last part, but it seems like a Socratic trick here again, right? Or are you making the arguments for neither, but chiefly for your own sake, without, however, grudging anyone else who might be able to get some profit from them? I choose the latter, he said, to speak and answer mostly for my own sake. Well, then, I said, retreat away. What we took up as following geometry just now wasn't right. Where was the mistake, he said. After a plane surface, I said, we went ahead and took a solid in motion before taking it up by itself. But the right way is to take up the third dimension, next in order after the second, and this is surely the dimension of cubes and what participates in depth. So it seems we moved too quickly just to astronomy, because geometry, which is flat, should also consider 3 dimensions, which nowadays is also geometry. Okay, yes, it is, he said, but Socrates, it doesn't seem to have been discovered yet. What is not yet discovered? I have to look up the footnote here. Okay, so discovered means here that it was not explained yet. By the way, I really dislike publishers who put the footnotes in the end. I always want footnotes directly under the text so that I don't have to, especially when you have electronic books, you just scroll like crazy. It's annoying. And it was always annoying. It was already annoying when I had a book. I always had to go to the last page and read the footnote. I was just annoyed of that. Or, however, that's what the world is, right? It has depth. Of that, I said there are two causes. Because no city holds it in honor, it is feebly sought due to its difficulty. No city holds astronomy in order, yeah? And those who seek for it need a supervisor without whom they would not find it. And in the first place, he's hard to come by. And then, even when he's there, as things stand, he wouldn't be obeyed by those given to seeking it because of their high opinion of themselves. But if a whole city should join in supervising it and take the lead and honor it, these men would obey, and with it being continuously and eagerly sought for, its character would come to light. For even now, although it is despised and cut short by the many, and by those who seek it, since they have no account to give of the way it is useful, nevertheless, in the face of all this, it grows perforce due to its charm. So it wouldn't be all surprising if it came to light. Is he talking about astronomy here or about geometry and the third lane? Really have no idea. Yes, indeed, he said, it is exceptionally charming. But tell me more clearly what you mean just now. You presumably set geometry down as what which treats of the plane. Okay, we are really like, how does this help here? How does this help here? Like, isn't that like a side quest that Plato marches down here? Okay, yes, I said. Then he said, at first you set down astronomy after geometry, but later you withdrew. My haste to go through everything quickly is the cause of my being slowed down. I said the investigation of the dimension with depth was next in order, but due to the ridiculous state of the search for it, I skipped over it after geometry and said astronomy, which treats the motion of what has depth. Okay, so if Plato writes this dialogue, why does he make it so complicated here? What you say is right, he said. Well then, I said, as the fourth study, let's set down astronomy, assuming that the study that is now being left aside will be present if a city pursues it. Yeah, I mean, of course it will be present if a city pursues it. Plato, do you really have to write it like this? Is this the mastership of writing that people talk about when they talk about Plato? Well then, I said, as the fourth study, let's set down astronomy, assuming that the study that is now being left aside will be present if a city pursues. Okay, I just read that. Okay, that's likely, he said. And on the basis of the reproach you just made me for my vulgar praise of astronomy, Socrates, now I shall praise it in the way that you approach it. In my opinion, it's plain to everyone that astronomy compels the soul to see what's above and leads it there away from the things here. Okay, this is like, this is interesting. I wonder whether that's true or Plato wins against that, or Socrates wins against that again. So they seem to strip the usefulness from astronomy and say, well, actually, it's just an extension of geometry. And it takes our desires away from the things that are useful towards the things that are not useful. So I think this is the way he's talking here, right? So maybe that's why he has this extension. As it is taken up by now, those who lead man up to philosophy, it has quite an effect in causing the soul to look downward. How do you mean? Okay, so here's another problem, right? So when you lead somebody up, they look back and look downward. How do you mean? He said, In my opinion, I said, it's not an ignoble conception you have for yourself of what the study of the things above is. Even if a man were to learn something by tilting his head back and looking at decorations on a ceiling, he would probably believe he contemplates with his intellect and not his eyes. Okay, this may be important, like how to turn towards our intellect, right? Perhaps your belief is fine, one, and mine innocent. I, for my part, am unable to hold that any study makes the soul look upward, other than the one that concerns what is and is invisible. And if a man, gaping up or squinting down, attempts to learn something of sensible things, I would deny that he ever learns, for there is no knowledge of such things. Or that his soul looks up rather than down, even if he learns while floating on his back on land or sea. So there's a problem, right? Even, I would say it like that way. Even though we study philosophy a lot, we may not study philosophy. So even though we are engaged in subjects that Plato demands, we may still not engage the way he wants us to engage. I am paying the just penalty, he said. You're right in reproaching me, but just what did you mean when you said that astronomy must be studied in a way contrary to one in which the new study, if it is going to be studied in a way that's helpful for what we are talking about? As follows, I said. These decorations in the heaven, since they are embroidered on a visible ceiling, may be believed to be the fairest and most precise of such things. Yeah, I mean, that was maybe most precise because the stars were always in the same position and could be mathematically located, right? So therefore, they had a meaning of godly laws or something. But they fall far short of the true ones, those movements in which the really fast and the really slow, in true number and in all true figures, are moved with respect to one another, and in their turn move what is contained in them. They, of course, must be grasped by argument and thought, not sight. Or do you suppose otherwise? Okay, so I don't understand the sentence completely. If you understand that, then please inform me downstairs, down in the comment, not downstairs. So the heavenly bodies, they seem to somehow resemble truth, but something falls short about them. And I guess they don't represent being. And I guess being are the laws by which their movements can be derived. So, but I don't understand here, they fall short of those movements in which the really fast and the really slow in true number and in all the true figures are moved with respect to one another. And in their move, what is contained in them. Maybe it is what I said. It's like a more general law. Not at all, he said. Therefore, I said, the decoration in the heaven must be used as patterns for the sake of learning the other things. Okay, so there's still something behind, right? The invisible. Just as if one were to come upon diagrams, exceptionally carefully drawn and worked out by Daedalus or some other craftsman or painter. A man experienced in geometry would, on seeing such things, presumably believe that they are fairest in their execution, but that it is ridiculous to consider them seriously as though one were to grasp truth about equals, doubles, or any other proportion in them. Okay, so we have like craftsmen and painters who now, I guess, draw something, and they are really good in their execution, but that is not yet as accurate as what is really invisible. I guess they are just images of what there really is, right? How could it be anything but ridiculous, he said. Then I said, don't suppose that a man who is really an astronomer will have the same persuasion in looking at the movement of the stars. He will hold that the craftsmen of heaven composed it, and what's in it as beautiful as such works can be composed. But as for the proportion of night to day, of these to a month, of a month to a year, and of the rest of the stars to these and to one another, don't you think you will consider strange the man who holds that there are always the same and deviate in no way at all, For these things are connected with body and are visible. Oh, okay. So he already considers that they are not perfect. Hence, won't he consider it strange to seek in every way to grasp the truth? So the truth is not in what is visible. That's what he's arguing here. That is my opinion. Therefore, I said, by the use of problems as in geometry, we shall also pursue astronomy, and we shall let the things in the heaven go, if by really taking part in astronomy we are going to convert the prudence by nature in the soul from uselessness to usefulness. Understand that. So I don't understand why we go now from uselessness to usefulness. Didn't he just criticize Glaucon for just considering something that is useful? Well, if you know better, let me know in the comments. And I said, I suppose our prescriptions in the rest will also be of the same kind, if we are to be of any help as lawgivers. But have you any suitable study to suggest? No, I haven't, he said, at least not right now. However, I said motion presents itself not in form, but several, as I suppose. Perhaps whoever is wise will be able to tell them all, but those that are evident even to us are two. What are they? That there's antistrophy. What is that? It is probable, I said, that as the eyes are fixed on astronomy, so the ears are fixed on harmonic movement. And these two kinds of knowledge are in a way akin. Oh, okay, this is interesting. Harmony of music and astronomy are very similar. Then I said, since it's a big job, we'll inquire of the Pythagoreans what they mean about them and if there's anything else besides them. But throughout all of this, we shall keep a guard over our interest. So yeah, to be honest, I'm a bit lost here. I have to study that a little bit before we go on. And so I really wonder why now we convert something to usefulness again. And now we also talk about harmonics. And that's a bit like he always takes these twists and turns without informing us why he does that. It's like a conversation. It's not super ordered all the time. So sometimes it's a bit hard to follow, right? But if you can give me a better interpretation, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, meet you the next time when we discuss that in more detail. And for the rest, look into the stars and find the invisible after you've subscribed. Bye-bye.